Minister Kostas Fragogiannis will come to Boston for a series of high-profile meetings with key stakeholders of Boston's innovation and academic ecosystem. They will exchange views on best practices in technology transfer, research, and its commercialization and academic synergies. And they will also present Greece to investors and to our innovation community in a Hellenic Innovation Network event at the Consulate General of Greece in Boston on Sunday, December 12. Everyone who is in Boston is welcome to join us. And I'm delighted that I was asked to, and we were asked to co-sponsor today's praiseworthy initiative. We are here for anything you need. Congratulations to Professor Koumoutsakos, Kaxiras, Trendafilou, Bertsimas from Boston, and all the other founding members. Minister Dimas, welcome, and we are looking forward to your visit to Boston, where we will also meet in person with the members of the Hellenic Institute of Advanced Studies. Thank you.
Christos, Minister Dimas, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you very much, Mr. Efthimiou, and everybody for hosting today's discussion, which I consider extremely important because when the Hellenic Institute of Advanced Studies actually started and communicated with the Greek government, it was a very interesting initiative, which, as you may now know, the Prime Minister personally, but also the government was extremely interested to see how we can make this happen. Allow me to say very briefly what our main government goals are in research and innovation. I'll try to be brief. We have three main goals in our agenda. The first was to increase expenditure in research and development. R&D spending in Greece was very low. Among 28 member states of the European Union, we were in the 16th position in 2019. Although the target that the European Commission had set for all EU member states was at 3% in relation to the GDP, spending in Greece was at 1.27%. And when I mean spending, I mean both public and private spending as a sum added up to 1.27% as of the GDP. And we are very proud to say that 10 days ago, we got the first results for 2020, and we had the largest increase of the last decade in Greece, bringing public expenditure, expenditure in R&D at 1.5% of the GDP. And we are extremely optimistic that this trend will continue in the next year as well. So what have we done, though, in order to spark more investment? First of all, we did change the tax regime. Specifically for investments in R&D, we increased the super deduction tax rates from 130% to 200%, making Greece one of the most attractive countries for R&D investments. And at the same time boost R&D investments from companies that already operate within the country. And it's characteristic that within the last 1.5 years, we have extremely important investments in R&D have been announced by Pfizer, Microsoft, Cisco, Applied Materials, EY, Volkswagen, Amazon Web Services, and other companies. So apart though from the tax regime, we have been making good use of cohesion money coming from the European Union. You might know it as ESPA. We did have extremely important activity of ερευνώ, δημιουργώ, καινοτομώ, research, create, innovate, which tried to link for the first time, and I have no problem to say it was an initiative started by the previous government, which of course we are continuing. It tries to link academic research with companies, with entrepreneurs, and this activity has been going very well, and we will announce the new phase in a couple of months. But we also started important initiatives for the creation of innovation clusters, for the creation of competence centers, of technology transfer offices, institutions that had not been operating in the country. But when one of your main goals, and I'm coming now to the second main goal of the government, is to try to link much more effectively research with innovation and entrepreneurship, you absolutely need to have them. So the second priority was to try to see how you can link research and innovation more effectively. And if you see again the European data, you will see that although Greece is relatively high in terms of research and academic performance, when this academic performance is actually developed into innovation and into entrepreneurship, we really lag behind our EU partners. So it's extremely important if you want to be competitive to see how you can make the best out of this research, which you haven't been performing, you haven't been implementing in Greece at the extent that you should have. I'm very proud to say that yesterday we voted a new law in Parliament regarding the institutional framework of spin-off companies, so companies that work within research centers and universities. It's, in my view, an extremely important step forward for Greek universities and Greek research centers. We have simplified and codified all of the legislation, and we give now important incentives for professors and researchers to create spin-off companies. Apart from that, we are establishing technology transfer offices throughout the country. We are not yet at the stage to have a fully operational technology transfer office at each university and each research center, but we are making an important step towards that direction as well. We have adopted important legislation to see how we can increase salaries for researchers and even university professors, especially for projects that are funded either by the private sector or from competitive European programs. And allow me to say, due to the financial crisis, we did have the national payroll policy, ενιαίο μισθολόγιο, which does actually specify the salaries that researchers and professors have. This, although is important for budget reasons, was a big constraint, especially if you compare the salaries that professors and academics had in Greece compared to other countries. So we did have a lot of PhD students and postdoc students leaving Greece, or of course academics also. Now with this change, we have managed to re-attract some of our academics, especially postdocs, back to the country, and our intention is to see how we can make this work even more, so even extend such policies to re-attract more and more academics that are out there, out of the country. Now, the third priority, and I am trying to be brief, sorry for speaking so much time. The third priority was to connect more effectively the innovation ecosystem. And up until recently, the Greek state did not know how many startups we had and which sector they were, how many people they employed, what budgets they had. And all of you know that when you don't have data, you are practically incapable of implementing successful policies. So we did create Elevate Greece, which acts as a national startup point for the innovation ecosystem. And within 1 year of its operation, Elevate Greece already offers specific incentives, for example, for tax breaks for angel investors, tax breaks for stock options. We did actually have an activity in order to support the Greek startups, especially due to the COVID crisis, and supported in liquidity for operational functions. We also have, apart from public policies that have been implemented within a year, we also have created an important network of official partners of Elevate Greece, which includes all of the banks, important companies, and even institutional actors that are giving from financial awards, access to their global innovation networks, free cloud services, mentoring services, business consulting to all of the startup ecosystem. They organize hackathons, and we are very proud of the fact that we have attracted extremely important companies to help the innovation ecosystem to Elevate Greece. So it's a mixture of public policies and private companies that actually support the innovation ecosystem. In a nutshell, instead of having the Greek state as a constraint for the startuppers and the spin-offs, we want to see how the Greek state can be an ally. Finally, since all of you are in the US, you are abroad, all of you know that Greece doesn't have a physical ground of innovation at the moment. And having traveled abroad, especially in the previous years, I had seen that we had many talented scientists or entrepreneurs trying to see how they can be competitive out of Greece. So they would visit innovation districts or innovation centers outside Greece to see how they can make their companies more attractive for foreign funds. We are very proud to say that we are creating an innovation district in Attica through a public-private partnership. The international public tender is operating very smoothly, and we are hopeful that within the second semester of 2020, the innovation district will start to be constructed. We have a similar project in Thessaloniki as well, with the Tech. It's a technological park, fourth technological park. Allow me to say, and I'm closing with this, that in this case, it's a different business plan, although in Athens, in Chropi, where we are creating it, in Piraeus to be exact, we want to place a matchmaking ground of innovation where you have startups, spin-offs, research centers, and through the synergies created, you try to see how you can have the production of innovative products or services. In Thessaloniki, we are trying to see how we can attract companies, establish all of their research centers, their R&D department within the Thessaloniki Technology Park, and around that create an innovation ecosystem. And we really believe that Thessaloniki has all of the potential to be a real success story for innovation. Just take into account that Thessaloniki is very close to many European capitals through national motorway. And if you want to be an innovator and a leader in innovation, especially in the Balkans and Southeastern Europe, and have your fair share at the global status, you have to be capable not only of keeping your most talented individuals in the country, but also see how you can attract talented individuals from the region. Finally, I will allow Professor Koumoutsakis to speak about HIAS and all of the developments we have had and the discussions we have had in the Greek government. I just wanted to give you a brief note of what we have been implementing in the last 2 years. Again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Dimas, for this introduction. I would like to share my screen, and we have a presentation that we prepared to talk about the Hellenic Institute of Advanced Studies, HIAS, as we will be calling it. And the idea is to use scientific knowledge to serve Greece. And this is an effort that started about a year plus ago. There were events happening in Greece at that time. We looked at how the diaspora could help Greece in the different efforts that Greece was undertaking. And at that time, we started a discussion, and then this discussion grew to a group of people, the people that you see here, that have been meeting almost every week, every Saturday, for an hour or two, preparing and brainstorming. And what we are presenting you today also, I would like to say that it would not have been possible if we didn't have the incredible help of John Gigounakis from the National Technical University of Athens and Danai Makridi-Pardo from the Greek Consulate in Boston. The technical problems that you saw earlier, they are all my mistakes. They have been incredible in helping us in every step of the way. And I would like to acknowledge that today we have over 100 members that have accepted the invitation to join HIAS. HIAS has membership only by invitation, and I hope today you will see some points where you could all contribute to the efforts that we are making with HIAS. Let me tell you why HIAS. I think many of us in the Hellenic diaspora, I guess all of us in the Hellenic diaspora, have a desire, have the nostos, or have the philotimo, or have the wish to contribute to Greece. And at the same time, there is an environment in Greece that today I think encourages such contributions. And besides the environment and the desire, there is also technology that facilitates long-distance interactions. Of course, technology can be an obstacle, but today we gather here about 100 people that otherwise it would have been very difficult to gather and exchange ideas. And also, many people, I think, are finding easier to work from one place far away from their actual office. And I think this is another place where Greece could act as an attractor for all the people of the diaspora that maybe at some point would like to spend some time working from Greece, interacting with people in Greece, while staying connected with their original place of work. So these three things are factors that contributed to putting together HIAS, and we think that the people of the diaspora, the scientists of the Hellenic diaspora, are a resource, a unique resource for Greece. They are world experts in science and engineering. They are advisors to international, national, and industrial organizations. And many of us, we have been educated in Greece. And many of us would like to give back some of the things that we received from Greece. And an example that actually comes from Europe, not from the US, this example is that every year there is Greek scientists that they get over 30 million euros from ERC grants and other grants. And would it not be wonderful if these people and these funds could find a place and a home and working conditions in Greece? So this could be also a source of funding and of creating the next generation of scientists. Now, what is the HIAS? Our mission is to be a non-profit private foundation by Greek scholars. We are starting in the US, and we hope to soon have also a sister organization in Greece. And the main focus of what we try to do is to build bridges between the diaspora and our peers in Greece. So these bridges is one of the main things we're trying to accomplish. We are also interested in participating in studies of relevance to the Greek government and industry. As you will see later, there is a particular study that was initiated and HIAS participated in it. And also we'd like to foster collaborations with different organizations and different stakeholders in Greece with people from the diaspora to address problems of relevance to the Greek society. The principles on which we base it, we very much care about scientific excellence. We think this is something that needs to be promoted. And in addition to scientific excellence, we very much care that there is synergy between people from the diaspora and people in Greece. And we believe excellence and synergy can be national resources. We also wish to draw on the strengths of the entire Greek scientific community. And I would like to say that we are an independent scientific organization with no particular political or religious or any other affiliation. Scientific excellence and synergy are the two principles on which HIAS is being constructed. What we try to do is on phase one, we started some target studies trying to get acquainted with the Greek science landscape. It was a very educational process. As I said, you will hear more about that later. We'd like to continue with such studies. On phase two, we're interested in academia industry interfaces, maybe academia startup interfaces, possible workshops. We're preparing one for this summer. And in phase three, we will be interested in having a physical infrastructure to have close contact with people in Greece. Maybe members of HIAS could have working space in Greece. Maybe that we can think of collaboratories where people come in and working together. And eventually, we can also think about fellowships where people can come and work together and have a two-way brain gain, people from Greece coming abroad and people from abroad coming to Greece. I will stop here and I will pass the next section, which is about bridges, to Dora Varvarigou.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dora Varvarigou, professor at the National Technical University of Athens. Really happy to be part of HIAS and glad to be here with all of you tonight. And thanks to Stratos FTNU for organizing this inaugural event. So central to the idea of and the mission of HIAS is to build bridges. And bridges are among scientists and scientific groups. Hence, as already pointed by Petros, the first mission is to create critical mass by gathering the right mixture of people from around the globe, focusing first on some initial themes of technology and science. So what comes next is to identify what people or groups to connect with bridges. And first attempt is to build bridges among faculties of the diaspora and graduate students and postdocs and researchers based on scientific areas of interest. And that is the main effort to organize members in terms of common scientific interests. But also bridges are to be built around existing projects to support the initiatives connecting them to the appropriate HIAS members, like for example, in the case of the robotic initiatives, but also initiatives of duplicating successful scientific projects in Greece. We want to also support the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Greece by leveraging on the experience of the HIAS members and building connections between them and the startups, startup players in Greece. But also, we want to be able to build these bridges. We want to create enablers and catalysts for the connections to happen. So for starters, we target thematic conferences in Greece where HIAS members will be able to meet their counterparts based on common research interests, but also what we have for further on as like very ambitious goal is to eventually build a hub of HIAS in Greece where HIAS members can visit in Greece and collaborate with counterparts and so on. Of course, we don't want to duplicate everything. There are initiatives and bridges that are already there set up, and that we have to collaborate with them. We have to support them, so we don't have to duplicate the work that's being done, but rather strengthen it. So we want to collaborate with foundations, private institutions, and state agencies, and see how we can support each other to create bridges among the scientific community, the Greek scientific community around the globe. And we have some examples here. Maybe Dimitris Bertsimas would like to step in here. Dimitris, on some examples of bridges.
Dora, how about if you continue? You have it will be stronger if you.
Okay, sure. Okay, so of course the bridges that we're building we're basing on experience that the members have had on things that work, and of course on best practices. So one thing that has worked is this effort that a lot of you've heard about, is this about dual degrees efforts. NTUA has been successful in creating the environment, and Andreas Budovic, who's worked on that, the rector of NTUA, has been very successful in creating the framework to create these dual degrees. So this is a very interesting thing. Also, you know, it's been the HIAS members have had a lot of experience on co-advising graduate students and postdocs between the diaspora and the Greek scientists. So co-advising has been co-advising of graduate and graduate students, of graduate and postdocs, have been catalysts in collaborating, in getting into collaboration the groups where this the different scientific groups. Another thing that has worked very well is when there is a successful project in one country, and then you duplicate that in Greece. Like, for example, there's been a very successful data analytics project that members of HIAS have duplicated in Greece with new data and more enriched scientific and large scientific communities. And looks like this has been great in technology transfer. Also, funding for young scientists through collaborating with foundations. So foundations have already programs for funding young scientists, and then enhancing that to involve HIAS members, that has been very successful. And finally, a final example, there are many more that we're basing our experience on, is the possibility to have dual presence of startups in Greece or the United States or in the European Community. So this dual presence of startups, both in Greece and abroad, has been has been a good way to build bridges between scientific communities and Greece. And we're planning to work to use them as best practices. Thank you, Petros.
Thank you very much, Dora. I also would like to encourage people that if you have questions, please place them on the chat window. And Thimis Kaxiras and Dimitris Psaltis will take that over at the end. Andreas, the window is yours, and I think you should be able to control the slides.
All right. Dear Deputy Minister for Research and Innovation, dear Council, dear colleagues, my short presentation is about HIAS initiatives. And through an initiative from Boston, thanks to Mr. Stratos Efthimiou, I have the pleasure to join you from my office in the Zographou campus of the National Technical University of Athens. My co-presenter, Lydia Kavraki, could not make it due to traveling obligations, and I transmit her greetings to you. Initiatives is about synergies, and synergies are necessary to build bridges, those mentioned by Dora Varvarigou and Dimitris Bertsimas, and to proceed to the next steps to be outlined by Eleni Hadji and Daphne Manoussaki. I will touch upon formalization of bilateral university cooperations, mobility promotion and support, academia industry state collaboration, community building and fundraising in my next slide. Regarding cooperations, sporadic synergies sometimes covered by MOUs, are good, and we have some success stories so far, certainly in NTUA, but an initiative is needed aiming at the formalization, in particular with regard to co-supervision of PhD and master thesis. Issuing joint degrees at any level needs formal coverage in terms of procedures and legal framework, addressing, among others, compatibility issues. To this end, our recent experience here at NTUA with setting up a dual degree with Columbia University is very useful. Regarding mobility and promotion and support, European initiatives in this direction have been around for many years. However, the strengthening of internationalization requires new initiatives. Among the recent ones in the European level is that of the Erasmus program, including mobility, not only between universities, but also between university and industry for practical training and internships of students. Another one, more recent, is the European University establishment. Student and staff mobility outside Europe, for example, towards the United States, is at its infancy. An initiative is required for binational synergy to make it feasible and attractive by addressing certain adversities, such as financial support of the activities and bureaucracy. Transferring funds from the US to Greece and vice versa for supporting student and faculty mobility is not simple. Providing health insurance or asking for tax declarations certainly make things complicated. We should take into account that the COVID pandemic, a post-pandemic era, is strongly inviting for revisiting and reshaping academic mobility of people across the Atlantic and also within Europe. Initiatives from within HIAS could blend with the existing academia, industry, state collaboration schemes, which are in a growth phase now, thanks to the initiatives and legislation by the government, and Minister Dimas deserves a lot of credit for that, or trigger new ones, or give a different twist to some of them by utilizing the experience of our colleagues from abroad in similar ecosystems. Joint conferences and working groups could set the stage for such synergies. May I mention today's coincidence with the Reinventing Greece through Investments in Innovation, an event organized by the Hellenic Federation of Enterprises, the SEV, which is in progress, I think, as we speak, where the particular ecosystem is at front stage. Let me move to the my second slide. Here it is. Community building between the diaspora and the mainlanders is a challenge. A potentially successful initiative must rely on the engagement of students, even selected undergraduates. This requires the interaction of senior people from both sides. To this end, proposals could be initiated from the HIAS board or from the HIAS members based on advantageous thematic choices, such as those mentioned by Petros Koumoutsakos, in a bi-directional board to members, members to board coordination. In any case, I think that the decentralization of such activities is the preferred interaction mode. In his first Olympiac speech, Demosthenes said, «Δι χρημάτων ο άνδρας Αθηναίοι, και άνευ τούτων ουδέν εστί γενέστε των δεόντων». In simple terms, fellow Athenians, money is needed, and without money, nothing of the essentials can be done. Fundraising is required to support the creation of bridges and the first and subsequent steps and the synergies. We can seriously count on the availability and generosity of donors, private or institutions, especially in the United States. But an initiative is needed to organize the fundraising and, most importantly, to convince that money will reach the appropriate destination and be used for a good cause and to produce a substantial outcome. Non-profit philanthropic organizations is most likely the best vehicle for that purpose. This is due to the incentive for tax breaks that accompany sponsorships, combined with the appropriate prerequisites set by the US tax authorities. Legal structures set up by various universities in other countries to receive sponsorships of this origin could be considered for Greek universities, and this is something that needs, as many other things, governmental intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Next is George Papas.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is George Papas. I'm at the University of Pennsylvania, and I'm going to tell you about a specific study that HIAS members across the Atlantic did since over the past year, since January 21, focusing on the area of robotics. And you should view this as a sample activity that all of us could potentially do in other areas as well. I'm co-presenting on behalf of my co-presenter, Michalis Trendafylou at MIT, but this was very much a team effort. It was a study that was co-led by Professor Kostas Kyriakopoulos at NTUA, as well as lots of HIAS members now. Some of them are already in this Zoom. Since January, in the last 6 months, we wrote a report, which was also delivered to Minister Dimas, about the state of robotics. And I would like to also thank personally Minister Dimas and his office for all the support and all the data they gave us about the state of the tech ecosystem, but robotics, AI, Industry 4.0, which was very useful in our analysis. I will put in the chat the report. I will not have time to go through all the document and the recommendations. That's not the purpose here. But I do want to say a little bit about the philosophy that we had in approaching this. We wanted to view the robotics ecosystem holistically, looking at not only the academic and research pillars, which is sort of our comfort zone for many of us, but also look at some of the great things that are happening on the innovation ecosystem in Greece. But more importantly, we wanted to see strengthen a little bit the connection that the Deputy Minister Dimas was saying earlier. How can we do research in robotics or any other field, for that matter, that can connect really what we do through innovation to societal impact? And in that regard, then we had to ask, what are the areas, societal areas, where Greece should be investing in the area of robotics? We didn't feel that Greece, for example, should necessarily follow the trend of doing self-driving cars. But then if that's not the case, then what are the areas where Greece can have strategic advantages, differentiation, and unique opportunities, both for societal impact and innovation impact? So this was a little bit of philosophy. I'm going to put the chat in the report. I'm just going to highlight a couple of recommendations, and then perhaps we can have more discussion later in the discussion. One, if I go back a little bit to the slide, I think one of the things that we want to do is, in addition to strengthening the pillars vertically, I think we wanted to also connect the pillars horizontally and see more things from academia and the research ecosystem transitioning to innovation and then to companies. So you can see that we sort of recommended the creation of some institutes that really connect the outstanding actually research that happens in Greece in the area of robotics and related areas like AI to creation of startups and new companies. And in that sense, one of the many recommendations, I don't have time to talk about all of them, is to really think about an innovation-driven research institute in the area of robotics that is not just focusing on excellent research, but also is a catalyst in the creation of VC startups and industry. And I'm happy to say that some of our colleagues at NTUA, led by Petros Maragos, are in fact leading such an effort, which is currently under consideration by the Hellenic government. But I think that is the kind of effort that, should it be approved, I think it will allow partnering for researchers in the US to researchers in Greece, but also across Europe through teaming proposals. as well as provide educational bridges, very much in the model of the NTUA Columbia agreement that we should congratulate Rector of Greece for that major accomplishment. And this is one idea which I think is hopefully we'll have more to report in the future. I think in another idea, which robotics we know has been a tremendous attractor of talent to STEM. I think Greece has a very good track record as far as attracting talent to STEM. I don't think that that's the main issue, but I think one of the main reasons we like robotics here is that in addition, it ignites the innovative and strengthens the innovative aspect of the students' education. And I think this is also known as the sort of the movement of makerspaces, because robotics is a very integrative it's a science and technology that brings many disciplines together. It's team-oriented, it's hands-on. It kind of gives a little bit the essence of what innovation could be at a university. And many of us in the US are trying to put that sort of culture of makerspaces into our curricula. And I think major investments are needed in creating makerspaces across Greek universities, but that's not enough. You also have to attach it to the curriculum. And we feel that robotics could be a good way to sort of start and strengthen that innovation spirit in a hands-on way, addressing robotics, but also related, it will have impact in nearby areas like IoT, Industry 4.0, AI as well. So these are a couple of recommendations. There are many other recommendations. I don't want to go through too many of them. I think I'm going to put the report on the chat, and I hope this. If you're interested in this, you can. This may be a sort of a sample study for future target studies, and hopefully more actions in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Eleni?
Yes, so I will be proceeding with just identifying some of the concrete next steps, and I will build up on what was mentioned earlier by the colleagues. I want to acknowledge Daphne Manoussaki of the Technical University of Crete, who has a primary contribution in preparing these slides of next steps. So maybe the very first thing to note here is what has been repeatedly mentioned also in the context of Synergies initiatives that have to do with mobility, which pertains to the structure of HIAS itself. So one of our immediate next steps right now is to formalize the framework on which HIAS is built. This includes the legal framework, and to ensure that this reflects an inclusive organization, freed of bias, which can foster exchange through not only knowledge exchange and collaboration, but also effective mobility that extends across physical borders. And so for this, we additionally need to plan for a physical space, and this was mentioned as well earlier, essentially a home for HIAS that can be used and can act as a hub and an environment that can promote this ideation and exchange. So these are some of the things that are currently scheduled as a priority. At the same time, it was mentioned that one of the mandates of HIAS is the promotion of talent, and to ensure this two-way brain gain. So by two-way brain gain, we here essentially refer to the promotion of activities that center around mobility that have to do with the movement of and exchange of researchers, both to Greece, but also from Greece to international institutions abroad. Here, one should mention that we would also like to look into ways for motivating talent to return back to Greece, giving these incentives that can keep researchers or keep them working in an environment where they feel is safe and fruitful. In terms of research and innovation, many has already been mentioned, and I think George made an excellent point by showing the current activities that have initiated with the focus theme of robotics. This is a theme that came together after these as a result of these brainstorming sessions that have been mentioned by Petros. And along these lines, we're now with the participation of and the growing of HIAS, we're looking into further focal themes with some immediately following up next, such as energy and renewables, climate change, and the policy regarding the timely topic of COVID. Now, building on these themes and the fact that we now have a network that has really been substantially growing in size, we're planning to have a first event, a HIAS workshop in summer 2022. We actually invite our members and those that participate here today to give us some of the perspectives and views of what they would wish to see in such a first conference, that is to bring together the members of HIAS, but also pose a topic or an area where we can brainstorm and discuss on how such an initiative would best serve Greece. We're going to open up a discussion next, so hopefully there we can get some of this feedback. And I would like to also then close with something that Petros mentioned in the beginning. We're very much interested in creating this bridge between academia and industry. There have been formats that we have been trying, not only in Switzerland, but also other colleagues in their respective institutions, that bring this industry together with academia in a joint space for direct problem solving, for direct exchange through different types of modules. We have been discussing with SATEC actually on such a possibility for organization of virtual seminars and online modules. And then finally, this was mentioned also by Andreas and George, we would like to support the Greek innovation ecosystem by possibly also bringing in the knowledge that or experience that has been gathered through the colleagues that represent different types of institutions and different types of academic systems that already have different mechanisms in place for supporting such a role. With this, I will give it over to Efthymis and Dimitris for the discussion.
Okay, this is Dimitris Psaltis. I think Efthymis is online also.
Yes, I am.
Okay, so if you have any questions or something you want to discuss, please post it on the chat. And then Efthymis and I alternatively will read your message to everybody, and then have one of us from the board address the issue, or let it somehow address the comment. So far, I don't see any, so I will send a message to everyone. To everyone in meeting. So I don't know what I might do to encourage you to.
Well, maybe something else to mention is that you can also raise your hand and we will unmute you, of course, or you can do it yourselves.
Yeah, if you want to speak instead of put the chat, we can also do that way. But
yeah, maybe I can mention something that has come up in our discussion. So one possible way that HIAS can help facilitate some of the actions that were mentioned earlier would be to create a database. Maybe we can call it a fellowship exchange, where people in this group among our members can post positions that they may have for graduate students or postdocs that they would be willing to host. And then we can disseminate this information through the HIAS website, and hopefully this will be attractive to some of the young students and young researchers in Greece.
There is a question. There is a question from Spiro. Spiro, I am not sure if you're there or you would like to put.
Yes, I'm here actually, but yes, I am.
Would you like to raise your question to the whole panel here?
Sure. There's a lot of emphasis in Greece in supporting what is termed as peripheria. So how to support, Yanina versus Patra, Githio, etc., etc. And I was wondering what you think, whether or not the makerspace is an appropriate venue to support actually these general efforts? Or is it too complicated? Or is it too expensive? Or is it non-feasible? What's your opinion?
If I can address that, I think, or anybody else is happy to. Maybe Michal, do you want to go for this?
Sure, I will be glad to.
Yeah.
I think that's one contribution we can make immediately to robotics, because as it was mentioned, we have very fine people doing robotics research in Greece. And one of the things that we can open up is a change in the culture of Greece. Greeks don't get exposed to the same culture of tinkering, of making gizmos, of playing with fabricating, revising designs as a hobby, as something that you do on an almost daily basis, especially at the technical universities. So the makerspace has seen great proliferation in the United States in the last 20 years. It was always there, but now it's an established sort of part of the culture of design. And it's an incredibly powerful tool to generate people who are ready to go out and make startups and generate the spirit of what we want to see with new technologies and new devices. It's not cheap, but it's not outrageously expensive either. And there are ways by which we can combine some stuff with graduate students who are happy to help. So we have in the report certain procedures by which we can establish this rather quickly in Greece. So I think it's a great investment. We're talking the order of 10 or 20 million dollars, not something outside the realm of the feasible, but its impact will be multiplicative, both for education and for fostering new companies in Greece.
Yeah, I'd like to add something to this, which is that we have discussed this issue in HIAS in the past, and I'm glad you brought it up, Spiros. I think it's an important one, and I think it's a golden opportunity for the government, but also the private sector to disperse some of the available resources from the center. And of course, in the United States, we know how distributed these resources are throughout the country, but there are other examples. Even in highly centralized France, many of the research institutions are outside of Paris. And this is very important, I think, to support growth and also to draw talent that otherwise would not be readily exposed to these possibilities. I think I'm happy to see that Minister Dimas is still in the call. I was very excited to hear about the innovation districts. They happen to be in the two major centers in Greece, in Attica and in Thessaloniki. I think it would be fantastic if other similar centers are promoted in other places. For example, there's a lot of research activity already in Crete. It's a fantastic opportunity to strengthen this, and in other possible places. Thank you for bringing it up.
Steny, there is a question from Andreas Agelakis on your chat.
I don't see the question. Dimitri, please go ahead and handle it.
Or maybe
hello.
Yeah, Dimitri, why don't you go ahead, because I don't see this. It was addressed to Themis.
Okay. So can you hear me?
Yeah, can hear you.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Good evening, and great initiative. Congratulations. Just landed in Greece after almost 18 months of being locked in Singapore, so it's really great to be back. My first hours in Greece. Just to, beyond the congratulations, I wanted to ask a question. What's the process for proposing areas? I mean, robotics is definitely a focus area, and it's very interesting, but there's a lot of things happening under the sun these days, from quantum computing to quantum technologies to many other areas. I mean, is there any channel to suggest things at the HIAS? Are there any clusters, or what are the plans from the HIAS to get ideas and get this kind of proposals through? Thank you.
I think it's a very good point, very good question. Petro, you want to address it, or you?
I can address it. We will be sending an email asking actually exactly for feedback like the one you are proposing, Dimitri. We have some ideas, and basically the main thing that we are looking is for people to take over a particular area, and through HIAS, maybe HIAS can give you access to different colleagues. And if a small group of people comes together and has some idea and would like to pursue it, we try to also help in any way we can, give suggestions, discuss it, and promote it. So if you have an idea, if anybody else has an idea, it's very welcome to propose it, and yeah, take it from there.
Yeah,
Well,
I'd like to
make a good point. We should really advertise a specific methods. Either you contact one of the 100 people on our membership, or someone at the board, or
Yeah, let
some
me-
way
let
to
me,
make a formal proposal.
Let me suggest something more concrete. There are already several working groups that have been thinking about some of the issues that were mentioned in the presentation. And we'll try to list all this and make it easily accessible through the website. But also feel free to write to us directly about your ideas and suggestions. And the address is info@hellenic-hias.org. It's on the website also.
There is a question by Minister Dimas.
Please go ahead.
It's not a question. It's a quick answer. I wanted to say about through Elevate Greece, we started having all of the startups of the country, and one of the most amazing results is the fact that 66% of the Greek startups are located in Attica. Then you have a percentage of approximately 16% in Central Macedonia, almost 7% in Crete, and then we have chaos. Why am I saying this? Regarding the comment about innovation districts, the obvious choice to start something like that in Greece obviously would be Athens, Attica to be more accurate, and secondly Thessaloniki. So creating an innovation district is not something that you can realistically do in any part of the country if we want to be frank. So you definitely need a critical mass of an academic community. You need startups, you need scientists, you need companies that invest in R&D. So in order to do so, we consider it more appropriate to start with the urban areas of the country. That does not mean that we want to separate the other regions. In fact, we are working very close with some of the regional governments, periferias, especially where in places where we lack startups, to see how we can give further financial incentives to young entrepreneurs to start operating from their regions. At the same time, allow me to say that we have important research activity outside the urban areas as well, and we are also investing in important research activity. I will only mention one, although it's not the only one, definitely, but it's a big investment and it has to do with Adikifira. You all know how small an island Adikifira is. It's an excellent place in order to study the effects of the climate crisis and climate change, and we are investing heavily there with important research and observation material. So although there is important research activity throughout the country, we have to be realistic. And regarding the innovation districts, it's the safe choices definitely start from the urban areas and especially the main cities. where you definitely have this critical mass and you want to make the best use out of it. After we have seen that they have succeeded, we will start looking more actively other areas of the country. We have had some discussions with Crete, building around ITE and the University of Crete, and Yanina, where we have some important research activity as well, and Patra, but that is where it practically stops. I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Well, thank you. The next person on my list is from Andreas Vazdekis, who's asking, when do you anticipate some funding opportunity to collaborate with Greek institutions? And related to the question, are there advertising venues for student or postdoc positions? I mean, that's, again, that's a, I don't know if I have the answer to that, if they have. But at the moment, I think there's no funding, there are no funds that the HIAS has secured, either from Greece or from donors and so forth. So, and so I would say at this point, there are no funding opportunities. If some, and as a consequence, there's also no advertising for student or postdoc exchanges. So these are programs that need to put in place. And I think it's fair to say that we are, Petros and the rest of us are exploring ways for how to make this financially possible, either through the Greek government or primarily through funding sources from our side. One thing that is clearly something that we want to encourage to all the 100 people also that joined HIAS is to encourage joint proposal on the European theater. There is less opportunity for joint proposals between Greece and American institutions. Some funding agencies do that, but not all. Does anybody of the colleagues from the HIAS side want to add to that?
I mean, I just, the only thing I would comment there is that NSF, in particular, the National Science Foundation of the US, has always had international agreements with, and there have been calls between NSF and Israel, NSF the Czech Republic. I think it's totally within the realm of the possible to have some similar arrangement between NSF and Greece in areas of mutual interest. I think that is something that should be within reach in the next few years.
Yeah,
Christos has raised his hand.
Well, let me make one more comment on this topic, and then a somewhat well-hidden secret is that the NIH will also fund joint proposals, and there is actually proof of that. I know of at least a couple of cases where research has been funded in Greece from the NIH.
That's what I have had here in Switzerland from DARPA as well, by the way, even though that's maybe sensitive in Greece, and DARPA as well funds internationally.
A quick comment on the two last points. Yes, the National Science Foundation does have such international agreements, and Greece and the USA did not have such an agreement. However, we did take the initiative in 2019. We started a discussion with the US government, and I'm very happy to say that we have signed a bilateral agreement that was in 2020. We have ratified it from Parliament. So we are in discussions with the National Science Foundation in order to activate the agreement within the coming year in 2022. And as we have with other countries including Germany, Russia, Israel, China, we have important bilateral agreements where we have common projects that are co-funded by the two countries. We are aiming to have a similar procedure with the US. So we will have common programs in research and innovation with the US in 2022. And there will be financial support for such programs, both from the Greek government and the US government.
Okay, thank you. Okay, the next question on my list, I'll come back to you, Papa, is from Kyros Koutoulakos. Yes, Kyro. But I think your question was addressed already, correct? Yeah, just it was about the bilateral agreement, so good question, but I think it was addressed. So let me go to Nicola Pepas. Please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Congratulations to all for this great opportunity. I wanted to add something that perhaps some of you know. The University of Texas, MIT, and Carnegie Mellon have agreements with the country of Portugal for research interactions, which have been significant over the past 8 years, several $1 million. I must admit, Portugal pays some of the funds and the United States the rest, these universities. So especially for Minister Dimas, this is something that could be established if we have interests. Also, I agree with Professor Caxiras that NIH does have plans, and several of us have European grants and even grants with Japan and Singapore. So it is possible. Thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you. I would add that EPFL also has similar agreement with Portugal. So, you know, students getting, PhD students getting paid largely from Portugal and being jointly. The next question is from Panagiotis Chiotras. He has something that's been partially addressed, but it's beyond building bridges between Greek scientists in Greece and abroad. Should HIAS and how play a role in helping build bridges between Greek scientists and engineers and local industry in Greece? I think this has been addressed. I think a big part of what we talk about and what we hope to contribute is establishing these links with industry, with startups, and also involving the Greek. We're here. Our aim is to provide bridges and help to what's going on in Greece. It's not to come in and do something, you know, new and different. If somebody wants to add or contradict what I said from the people from the higher side, please go ahead. Okay, so I don't see another question from on the chat list, or
there is a hand by Nicolas Pepas again.
Oh, is it an old hand or a new hand?
Dimitri, I would like to ask Nikos Pepas to send me and many others, if they're interested, a sample of this bilateral agreement with Portugal. And
I can send you the one with the EPFL, yeah.
I'll be delighted. They can send you the one with the PFL, but yes, I can send you also ours.
Well, I'd say more accurately, I will see if I can get a copy and I'll send it. All right, Petro, I pass it back to you for
all I want to say that I'm extremely thankful to all of you who, despite all these difficulties, moved between virtual spaces and came from a webinar to a Zoom discussion with such a seamless way. It shows what we can do as Greek people in the last minute. We will be posting the slides and we will be very much looking forward to engage this community that has been slowly coming together, and we hope to be able to have the next summer a conference in Greece where we'll be able to meet many of you in person and to exchange in more detail as to what other things we can do further for HIAS and for Greece, and how can we strengthen the bridges between the diaspora and our peers in Greece. I'd like to thank also Stratos Efthimiou for his wonderful support for everything. I'd like to thank Minister Christos Dimas for all the efforts that he has been offering to HIAS for the last year or so. It's very much appreciated. And with that, I'd like to close this event.
Petros,
yes.
Minister Dimas has his hand up. Perhaps he wants to address us again.
Yeah, I'm done on my side. Christo, please take over.
Σας έχω κουράσει. I really want to thank you. And I want to thank you because I know all of you have invested a lot of personal time. And I really cherish that. I know how important and valuable this personal time is away from your families, away from other interests. And this is something that we truly acknowledge. We truly want to thank you as a Greek government for your genuine interest to see how you can help our country. We all care about Greece, whether we live in Greece or we are abroad, and this is extremely important. So really thank you very, very much. Congratulations for all your activity. The Greek government is here to see how it can support in all possible means. I don't want to say something larger, but I want to be realistic. And finally, I ought to thank personally Stratos Efthimiou also for all his excellent work in Boston in research and innovation. We have been discussing with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs how we can promote scientific diplomacy as a country. And I can assure you that Stratos is a leader in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the issue. And I just want to say that he's doing a great job. And Strato, thank you very much for all of your support.
Thanks to everyone. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Stratos.